With the outbreak of the October Revolution, the nascent Soviet government emerged onto the historical stage. However, both imperialist forces and the old Tsarist powers, which considered themselves the Third Rome, eyed it with hostility. After years of hard fighting, the nascent Soviet forces crushed the old powers and unified the nation. This achievement was made possible by the leadership of the Soviet Bolsheviks and the unified effort of the Soviet workers and farmers. Moreover, the selfless aid from Turkey, once a sworn enemy, played a crucial role and can even be said to be a partnership between the Soviet Union and Turkey, or Lenin and Kemal Ataturk, that defeated the Third Rome. In July 1914, World War I broke out. At that time, the Ottoman Empire's military and political power was mainly controlled by the three leaders Enver, Talat, and Kemal. These three were known for their aggressive militarism, especially Enver, who sought to restore the glory of the Ottoman Empire with German support. Thus, despite opposition from the populace and the heavy burden of war, the Ottoman Empire joined the Central Powers. The end result was a heavy defeat for the empire, facing harsh terms from the victorious powers. Turkey lost its European territories, retaining only Istanbul. Militarily, the victorious powers required the Turkish Straits to be open to any ships during both peacetime and wartime. Moreover, the management of the straits would be overseen by an Anglo-French-American commission, which meant Turkey lost much of its sovereignty over its waterways. Additionally, Turkey's military size and capabilities were severely limited and remained under close supervision by the victorious powers. The citizens of Turkey took up arms to resist these external enemies. Born into a lower-middle-class family, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk was one of these resistors. In his youth, he participated in the Young Turks movement and earned fame in the Balkan Wars. During World War I, he played a key role in the Gallipoli campaign, successfully defending Istanbul from British invasion. His achievements boosted his reputation, and by June 1919, Ataturk declared the establishment of a national resistance movement and set up a provisional government in Anatolia. This declaration was the first of its kind from the Turkish National Liberation Movement and held monumental significance. On April 23, 1920, a National Assembly was held in Ankara with representatives from across the country, including from those who had fled Istanbul, and elected Ataturk as chairman of the assembly. This marked the beginning of Ataturk's leadership in Turkish history. However, within Turkish territory, the Sultanate still existed, and the Kemal government was not recognized internationally. Unexpectedly, during this critical period, the first nation to extend an olive branch was the Soviet Union, historically Turkey's archenemy. Looking at the past few centuries of Russian-Turkish relations, the two countries were not on friendly terms, often waging war against each other. The Ottoman Empire, during its height, had occupied parts of southern Russia and the Caucasus. After Peter I's ascension to power, Russia began wars against the Ottoman Empire, culminating in a 30-year-long series of conflicts. From 1696 to 1711, Russia took 15 years to conquer the Azov Sea. During the reign of Catherine the Great, Russia's offensives against the Ottoman Empire intensified. Between 1768 and 1774, following the Russo-Turkish War, the Treaty of Kukuk-Kaynarka was signed, forcing the Ottoman Empire to cede Crimea and the northern coast of the Black Sea to Russia. This also granted Russian commercial ships the freedom to navigate these straits and the right to build a church in Constantinople. Russia also gained the right to protect the interests of Christians within the Ottoman Empire. By the 19th century, the weakening Ottoman Empire struggled to withstand Russian invasions. Russia eyed Constantinople and the Black Sea Straits with great interest, resulting in frequent defeats for the Ottomans in their conflicts with Russia. Tsar Nicholas I even compared the Ottoman Empire to a sick man of Europe and proposed to Britain that they divide the remaining territories of the empire. In 1833, the two sides signed the Treaty of Unkyr-Skelessi, which confirmed Russian privileges in the Turkish Straits. The treaty also included a secret clause. If any conflict arose around the Turkish Straits, Turkey would deny passage to all ships except Russian vessels, and Turkey would align itself with Russia. From the late 17th to the early 20th century, Russia and the Ottoman Empire fought 13 wars, with Russia gaining most of the Ottoman Empire's European territories. Thus, their relations were historically hostile. However, entering the early 20th century, geopolitical changes set the stage for reconciliation. In 1917, the Russian Revolution erupted, shocking the world. Western capitalist countries feared that the revolution would inspire their own working classes, so they convened at the Paris Peace Conference to discuss containing Russia. This posed a significant challenge to the young Soviet Republic, prompting it to actively seek allies. On the other hand, the victory of the October Revolution marked a change in Soviet foreign policy, shifting its focus to regions like Turkey, Greece, and Cyprus. On December 5, 1917, the Soviet government issued a declaration addressed to the working people of Russia and the East, stating that Constantinople should be returned to Muslims. In this declaration, Lenin expressed his support for Kemal Atatürk's Turkish Revolution. When these announcements reached Turkey, Turkish citizens, intellectuals, and various circles enthusiastically welcomed the Soviet declarations. This ushered in a period of comprehensive bilateral diplomatic relations. Through their partnership, the Russian Empire, the so-called Third Rome, met its end. The concept of the Third Rome refers to the third nation claiming the legacy of the Roman Empire. The First Rome refers to the Roman Empire from 27 BCE to 476 CE, which split in 395 CE, with the western half retaining the name and the eastern half becoming the Byzantine Empire. The Second Rome refers to the Byzantine Empire. The Third Rome is a contested title, claimed by different states at different times, including France, Russia, and even modern-day America. This title is linked to notions of legitimacy and authority, representing traditional Western dominance. Russia, once considered a barbaric land by Western standards, began to grow powerful and adopted the title of the Third Rome. However, despite the prestigious title, Russia could not conceal the darkness behind its rule. On January 7, 1917, the October Revolution erupted, overthrowing the old bourgeois provisional government and establishing Soviet power under Lenin's leadership. Unrelenting, the bourgeoisie quickly allied with domestic feudal remnants, landowners, and Western imperialist powers to launch a counterattack against the Soviet government. During this challenging period, the young Soviet state faced its most difficult years. Before the war, Russia's economy was already on the brink of collapse. The Soviet government implemented war communism, a policy that surpassed Russia's economic development at the time, exacerbating agricultural crises. In the summer of 1921, a severe drought struck the Volga River basin, the Ural Mountains, and then spread to the Don River region, Ukraine, and Crimea. Reports indicate that the number of affected people exceeded 30 million, with around 10 million losing their lives. The worst part was that the hardest-hit areas were Russia's primary grain-producing regions. In July 1921, the renowned writer Maxim Gorky, authorized by Soviet leadership, issued an appeal to the world, requesting aid for the affected regions in the form of food and medicine. Initially, the Soviet government did not have high hopes for outside assistance. However, to their surprise, the country willing to extend a helping hand was their former enemy, Turkey. The Grand National Assembly of Turkey provided significant aid to the Soviet Union, donating a substantial portion of their grain reserves stored in Anatolia. In September 1921, Ataturk informed the Turkish ambassador to Moscow, Arifriza, that the Ankara government had decided to allocate 40% of the grain reserves in certain parts of Anatolia to help the Soviet Union. A few days later, Turkish Foreign Minister Yusuf Kemal informed the Soviet ambassador to Ankara that, in addition to the previous aid, they would send 80 tons of grain and beans to the Soviet Union. This timely aid from Turkey significantly alleviated the Soviet food crisis, strengthening mutual trust between the two governments and laying the foundation for future Russo-Turkish cooperation. Overall, the centuries-long history between Russia and Turkey was marked by conflicts and tensions. Nevertheless, mutual interests led them to set aside animosity and form an alliance against common enemies. For the Soviet Union, forging a friendship with Turkey ensured that the Soviets wouldn't be isolated by the West and secured a stable external environment. For Turkey, having the Soviet Union as a powerful ally bolstered their confidence in their own revolution. In conclusion, their partnership was almost inevitable, and the fall of the so-called Third Rome was predestined.